Hi, welcome back to Bolster Lights. Today we're going to be looking at Back to the Future, an adventure through time. If you have any concerns about companies taking a franchise and making a game of it, don't be too worried on this one. This one looks really good and it works really well. We've been enjoying playing with it, and there's some neat little strategies involved in this one. It does say age 10 plus, but the sharper minds I think are going to find greater success here. IDW Games have a habit of taking a franchise and making a decent game of it. This one's designed by Matt Riddle and Ben Pinchback. Ben and Matt have worked together on Fleet. If you've seen that one, I think that's the most notable game. I've not actually demonstrated it. And look out for the upcoming Goonies card game. I'm hoping they'll follow with a decent game there too. There's a few Back to the Future games. This one's the board game. Plays 2 to 4 in about 45 minutes. I'm going to make this a short demonstration just to show you how this one plays. Here's the game setup. I've set up a 2-player game. The 3-player, 4-player plays much the same. There's a couple of little variants and I'll talk to those as we get into the gameplay. These are our player areas, alright? So we've got 2 players. Maybe you get a mat and one of these ripple tokens. They're called Out of Time. I'll come to that as well. This is our first player token. So the player on the left here is first player. The idea of the game is we start here in the past in 1985. We're currently in 2015, so the present is 2015. The immediate past is 1985. If you've seen the movies, you'll know that these dates are significant. And the furthest we go back is 1955. Okay. The objective of the game is to score the most victory points. Each era has 3 objectives. When you're playing the 2-player game, 1955 only has 2 objectives, or 2 events, as the game calls them. If you complete one of these events, you take one of the victory point chips. If you complete an event, you take a victory point chip. The next event then becomes available, and the next victory point chip. Okay, the game ends when any of these 2 piles are empty, and then we count our victory points to see who wins. There's another way to win victory points. I'll show you that once we get into the gameplay. We complete these events by playing characters from our hand. Alright, each player is going to start with 4 cards in their hand. And you can see to complete the 1955, the first event, it says save Marty and the hoverboard from being run over by Biff. So we're going to have to play 3 cards into 1955, and this is where your player mat comes in. Okay. In your hand you've got character cards. This one is for Marty or Doc, this one's for Marty or George, Marty or Doc, or Lorraine and Marty. We're going to be playing these cards. To complete the 1955 event, I need to play a Biff, a George and a Marty into 1955. Okay, so I don't think I've got a Biff, but a Marty and a George. I don't know. So I'll play this George and this Marty, and then I'm just looking for a Biff. If I play another of the Biff into 1955, I can claim this event, take the victory point chip. This gets reset, and then on we go. Okay, so those are the strategies. Now the thing is that, and this is where the depth is added if you like, that the cards you play can only be played where the DeLorean is, and you have to use cards to move the DeLorean around. Okay, I'll show you the mechanics as we get into the game. So other players can see that, right, I've got George and Marty, I only need Biff in 1955. Well, they might want to keep the DeLorean out of 1955 because they don't want you to play Biff and complete that event. Right, so you can scupper people's plans by moving the DeLorean. Of course you can move the DeLorean as well, and you do that using the flux capacitor on your cards. Alright. The other level of depth here is that each card that you play costs time, and you have to play other cards to pay that cost. So for example, to play the Marty George card, this one can only be played in 1955. It's going to take 2 time. Other cards give you time. So I play the card into 1955. I have to pay 2 time. Okay, so this gets discarded. I'm just using it for its 2 time to allow me to play that card. Alright. So not only do I have to pay the costs, time, I also have to make sure that the card can be played in that era, 1955, and the DeLorean needs to be in 1955. Alright, so there's lots of ways to set up before you can actually play the cards. The other thing is, the further back in time we are, there's this additional card called Ripple, the Ripple cost, or the Ripple through time. So for example, if we're in 1955, we have to pay 2 cards face down as what we call the ripple cost. Okay, if I'm trying to play a character into 1985, I pay 1 ripple cost card as its ripple cost. Any card, doesn't matter which. If I'm in 2015, now I'm in the present, there's no ripple through time, so there's no ripple cost. And this is where you can also get extra victory points, because these cards that you play for their ripple cost to allow you to play characters into these times also have victory points on the bottom. So at the end of the game, when you're counting up the victory point tokens you've earned from completing events, you also add the victory points from any cards in your ripple through time. Okay, so not only do these cards act as cost, but this extra decision point of, well, which cards will I play for the ripple cost, because some give you more victory points than others. Finally, there's one more limitation on which cards you can play. We have these character cards. Every turn of the game, you're going to take on the role of one of the characters from the movie. Okay, Doc, Lorraine, George, Marty, Jennifer, and Biff. We'll come to Jennifer later. If I wanted to play a Marty card from my hand into 1955, not only do I have to find a card that has Marty on it and 1955, not only does the DeLorean have to be here, not only do I have to pay the time cost of 2 and the ripple cost of 2, I can only play Marty cards if I'm taking on the role of Marty. Okay, now these are shared roles. At any one turn, each player takes a role and says, "All right, I'm going to be Marty for this turn." No one else can be Marty. They have to pick one of the other roles. First player goes first. They pick their role first. Now, which role you pick is very much determined by which cards you're trying to play, but also each role has a special ability. So, for example, Marty says, the first character played this turn costs 0 time. Biff says, steal another character card from a player's hand. Okay. George, draw 1 character card, get a card from the deck. May swap 1 character card with the top card of the deck. And I can't use this card, so let's swap it. Okay. Lorraine may move 1 character, 1 era. Lorraine is key. So if I need to get Biff, but I don't have any 1955 Biffs, I've only got these, I could, say, play Biff into 1985. Does this player have any Biffs? Yeah, there we go. Here's a Biff. Here's a 2015 Biff. So I could play Biff into 2015. Okay, so it goes here on my player mat next to the 2015. And then in next turn, I might choose to be Lorraine. I take Lorraine and I move Biff to 1985, and then I take Lorraine again and move Biff again. All right, remember you're moving Biff around your clock. Okay, so Lorraine's got a good ability, nice strategy with her. Doc may move the DeLorean once for free. Okay, now remember I said you need to use the flux capacitor. Each card, not only does it give time, a character, a date, and victory points, but it also gives power. This card gives 3 power. There's 3 segments, there's 3 spikes to this card. This card here only gives 2 power. Okay, I think I had one here that gave, there's a 2 power, 2 power. This one gives no power at all. Okay, to move the DeLorean costs 3 power. Alright, so if I had a 1 power and a 2 power, I could play 2 cards to give me the 3 power I need to move the DeLorean. Finally, we have Jennifer. Jennifer is kind of like a wild card. There isn't any Jennifer cards. You can't play Jennifer from your hand. There aren't any cards here that require a Jennifer. So what Jennifer says, if you choose her role, you can actually play any character card from your hand. You're not limited by the role you pick. Right, so she's that wild card. But also, she has an extra ability. The first character played this turn costs 1 less time. Okay, so Jenny's pretty good. Okay, so those are the roles. Now remember, our objective is to play characters from our hand onto our clock tower to satisfy these events. So this one says, I need Doc, Marty, and Annie in 1985 to claim that, claim the victory points, and ultimately try and get the most victory points to win the game. All right, let's do a quick round and demonstrate how this works. We'll start with our first player. Let's see, what do we have? We've got a Lorraine and a Marty for 1955. We've got a Marty and George 55 and a Marty and Doc 55. So 1955 looks pretty good. DeLorean starts here. Notice the street scene is the same street scene, just for different eras. Now, if I took Doc to move the DeLorean for free, I wouldn't be able to play any character cards to help me because it needs Biff, George and Marty. But I don't have any 1985 cards. The trouble is, this isn't a good hand because the power isn't good enough to move the DeLorean. I might actually just take a pass here. And a pass is always good because it doesn't mean you do nothing. You take one of these clock tower tokens instead. And a clock tower token gives you 3 power, 1 victory point, or 2 time. So you can keep hold of these and save them for victory points at the end of the game, or you can spend them for their power and their time. So I'm going to choose to just take this and set myself up for next turn. So even though I'm going to pass, I still have to select a roll. So let's see. And this is important because what's going to happen is, in the 2-player game it's even more important, because with the 2-player game, what you do is first player gets 2 turns every turn. Alright, so it will go, I'm first player, I get a turn, other player gets a turn, I get a turn, then we pass the first player token. So the turns are always alternating, but you get to choose another roll for the second turn. So I think I'm going to try and take one that I think is going to block him out. So let's take Doc. We'll take on the roll, and it says we may move the DeLorean once for free. So I'm going to move it down here. Then I pass. I don't play any character cards, and I didn't complete an event. So you can only take a clock tower token if you don't play any characters or complete an event. I'm going to take this token and then pass to the second player. Alright, let's see what he does. Okay, we were in 1955. I don't have any 1955s. So I might have to scupper him a bit and move the DeLorean. I've got a couple of Biffs. So I'm going to take the Biff roll. Here it is. And it says steal 1 character card from another player. So I'm going to do that first. And this may alter my strategy because it depends what card I steal. Oh, we stole a Marty and Lorraine from 1955. So that might have been the card he wanted to play. But I can't play Marty because I'm Biff. I can play Biff into 1955, but I don't have any. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to use the Doc Marty card for its 3 power. Discard it. And we're going to travel through time to 2015. Now this is okay because I don't have to pay any ripple cost because we're right in the future, in the current date, if you like. But I'm going to play Biff. He's going to cost 3 time, no ripple because we're right at the front. But I'm going to pay with the 1985 Biff. Okay, he gives me 3 time. Each card has a cost of 3 time and offers 3 time. So I'm going to play Biff into 2015. I'm going to discard this one for its 3 time. I'm not worried about the 1985 Biff because I don't need him. I've got 2 cards left, but I can't do anything with them. I've got Marty, Doc, Lorraine, and Marty, and I'm Biff, remember, so I can't do anything with those. I could have gone back to 1985 and played Biff, I suppose, but I didn't have enough power. Yeah, I'm going to end my turn there. Now at the end of my turn, I've played a character card, so I can't draw a clock tower, but I do now get to draw some cards. The DeLorean's currently in 2015, so I draw 2 cards. Remember, when player 1 ended their turn, the DeLorean was in 1955. 1955 says draw 0. Okay, so back in the past is really hard. Not only do you have to pay ripple costs, but you don't get to draw any cards either. But they are worth the most victory points. Okay, they range from 14, 16, 18, 14 through to 18 compared to 2015, which ranged from 10 through to 14. Okay, so I get to draw 2 cards to end my turn. And because we're playing a 2-player game, the turn passes back to player 1. Well, in 2015, I do have a Marty and a Doc here. I'll take the Marty roll. This one says the first character played this turn costs 0 time. So I can play Marty for free. And then I don't think I'll do anything else. The DeLorean ends in 2015. I get to draw 2 cards. And then the first player token passes to the next player. And everyone returns their rolls. We can take on new rolls for next time. And we start the next turn. Right, pretty simple, huh? Let's take Marty for this turn. First character played this turn costs 0 time, so I'm going to play the 2015 Marty. Right, now I've got a Marty and a Biff. Okay, a Marty and a Biff. Now let's say I want to complete an event. Alright, now remember, this one here needs a Biff, a Marty and an Annie. Okay, I've got 2 characters here. Let's say I had a Lorraine. Okay, when the turn comes back to me, I'm going to take the Lorraine roll, which means I can play a Lorraine card. Now the good thing about this card is that she can be played in any era. She's got this infinity symbol. Okay, so let's say I get to play Lorraine into 2015. Okay, now I've got 3 characters and I can satisfy this event. I've got a Biff, I've got a Marty, and I've got an Annie. You'll notice that this here is the Marty Doc card for 2015. It's kind of unique for that year. And if I look at the events, there isn't a Marty and a Doc. Okay, so I can't use this. Again, you can't play the same card twice into the same era, right? I couldn't play this one and use it as a Doc, for example. Okay, so I've got Lorraine, I've got Marty, I've got Biff. It's one of my actions. Remember, you can take any number of actions as long as you've got cards to satisfy it. One of my actions is to complete the event. To complete an event, the DeLorean has to be in the year that the event we're completing. You've got to have all the characters required, but you've got to have at least 1 character played in every year. So this kind of stops you getting the jump early. So at the moment I can't start claiming any events until I've got characters in every year. Alright, so that's one of your early objectives. Get characters out there in every year so you can start claiming events. But once I've got characters in every year, it doesn't matter which characters they are, I can then, as my action, take this, take the victory points, and now we've got another event here ready. George, Lorraine, Annie. Okay, so you can see there's quite a lot of going on. There's quite a lot of moving parts here. There's quite a lot of work to be done. The theme is tied in obviously with this time travel idea and this ripple through time. I mean, that's really important. Let's demonstrate that. So let's say the DeLorean is in 1955. Okay, and we're on player 1's turn. Okay, they get to play some character cards here. So I want to play Marty or George. Let's take George. So I'm going to take the George roll. George says draw 1 character card. Swap 1 character card at the top of the deck. So I'm going to draw a character card. Okay, we've got 85 George, Lorraine. I don't really want that one, so I'm going to swap that. Okay, that's my ability. And I got a Biff and a Marty. That's better, because, yeah, we need Marty over here. Okay, but I want to play a character into 1955. Right, so I'm going to play the Anytime George. Okay, he's Anytime. I'm going to play him here. I've got to pay 2 times his cost. So I'm going to play the 1955 George Marty. That's the cost paid. Discard. Now we've got to pay the ripple cost. The ripple cost is 1, 2. The ripple through time. Okay, because we're paying a card here. So I'm going to take this one, because it gives me 3 victory points, and 1 other, the Marty Doc. Right, so I'll take those, and I'll place them under my ripple token. And that's it, I've got 1 card left in my hand. Alright, now these stay face down for the rest of the game. They can't be used. I won't get to draw any cards because the DeLorean's currently in 1955, so I'm kind of stuck with no cards at the moment. But remember, I do have this thing, so I could potentially use this to now move the DeLorean. Let's do that. Let's discard the clock tower token and move the DeLorean to 2015. end my turn, and I get to draw 2 cards. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of depth to this game. Despite its 10 plus label, the artwork's really great. I mean, who doesn't love Back to the Future? And so the theme really works. And it works because, right, you've got a little bit of a story. These stories are incidental. It's just fluff, really. It's just, added on. Save Marty and the hoverboard from being run over by Biff. Catch a ride to school. Don't let Strickland see you. Get to the mall. Do you see? And this is kind of how it ties into the fact that we have to play out these cards to play out these events in each of these different eras. And the fact that we can jump back and forth through time is really neat. So that's Back to the Future, an adventure through time. Look out for it. Yeah, I love it. It's really good. This one's staying in my collection, and it's certainly approachable for non-gamers, and certainly a great family game. The theme works well with a family, but like I say, the strategy is a lot deeper than you might expect. Certainly the sharper players will come out on top. Thanks for watching. See you next time.